XRAY. Good morning and welcome to X-Ray in the Morning, the show of shows.
Yay!
Here's the latest weather report. Rain and cooler.
Time for news and commentary. I'm Jefferson Smith.
Good news, everyone!
Nerd alert! Quarterback. So what did we learn this morning?
I learned that there's a storm coming.
You did learn that.
It's like a bowl of grape nuts for your mind.
Sleepy, it's rainy, it's dark, but feeling good.
I am feeling good, and it is rainy and dark this morning. It feels like a real Portland winter morning, which I feel like we haven't had in a while.
Yeah, it's one of those where you look at the weather for the week and it says rain every day, rain every day, rain every day.
I know, but it's kind of, I mean, like, it's a little depressing, but, but it feels like in the long run, I'm like, good, because I like rivers and trees and stuff.
And no wildfires.
Yeah,
And,
I also just like, it's like
that,
magic.
I mean, that
Magic
helps.
Water
That matters.
falling from the sky.
Yeah, and I'm not going to escape the rain because I'm going into Seattle this
Ooh,
weekend
that's
for
fun.
PodCon.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yes, and I will be representing X-Ray there, so I'm very excited.
Oh my
so
God, you're the coolest person I know.
I know,
That
I'm
sounded
so
like
excited.
a joke, but I'm not. Like that's so. I'm really actually.
no,
very jealous.
I'm really excited too. This is like the first of something like this I've done, and I just started really getting into podcasts this year, so I think it'll be.
Welcome to the
I
rabbit
know,
hole.
Right? I'm a little late, aren't I? Aren't I? I mean, podcasts got really big. Like
It depends on how old you are. I frequently, whenever I tell people that I have a podcast, like if it's somebody who's over the age of, let's say, 50, inevitably I have to like explain what a podcast is and how to find it, and then like help them download the app that, where you can listen to
Right.
podcasts. So, if you're over the age of 50, you're not late to the game at all.
Right. And I think Alexa and, those kind of like smart devices are making things easier, even for radio. I mean, you can tell your Alexa, like, tune into X-Ray, which is kind of a little ad for X-Ray there. You can tell your Alexa, tune into X-Ray FM. My grandparents do it in New York. So,
Oh, that's actually kind of crazy.
yeah, radio is not dying, in my opinion. I mean, there's still
that's
forums
right.
to listen to.
That's right. Radio's not dying. Yeah. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That was the happiest news of the morning, basically, is that radio is not dying.
I know. Fridays are always a little loopy, and I think it's just, there comes a point where I don't know why at this point it surprises me, but every time I bring up the news stories, I'm like, oh, look, there's a ton of insane stuff happening in the world.
Yeah.
So we have to get a little loopy to deal with it.
And we're still in a government shutdown. So
Right.
what even
Day
is the world,
28,
you
I
know?
believe.
Yeah. I mean, what is the world? Do you want to get into some of our top stories? Let's talk about impactful stuff.
What is the world? The world is an illusion.
Yeah.
It's not. Please be good to each other. This is real. So, in our top national story, federal immigration agents have separated more migrant children than previously thought. According to a report released by the Office of the Inspector General on Thursday, federal immigration agents separated migrant children from their parents a full year before family separation became an official policy of the Trump administration. Ann Maxwell, Assistant Inspector General for Evaluations at the Department of Health and Human Services, told reporters that the HHS estimated the number of migrant children separated from their parents was, quote, in the thousands, but would not give a more exact figure. This report is the first official U.S. government acknowledgement that the Trump administration used family separation as a measure to deter illegal immigration before it became a policy. The backlash from the media prompted the administration to revoke the policy 3 months after it was put in place. But 2,737 children had been separated from their families between May and June of 2018, and a federal lawsuit resulted from these actions. According to the Office of the Inspector General, quote, this number does not even fully represent the full scope of family separations. Health and Human Services has now reunited nearly all of those children with parents or released them to relatives living in the country in accordance with orders from a federal judge in California. I would just, on a personal note, like to mention those are two very different things.
Sorry, what are two different things?
Being released to your parents or being released to relatives that you may or may not know.
Absolutely.
In a country that is completely foreign to you.
And not to mention, I mean, I think articles like this really downplay the trauma that they endured while they were in these child camps or whatever, you know? I mean, it's just like you cannot, these are children, and we know that children going through traumatic experiences can have lifelong problems.
Absolutely.
And I mean, it's just, you can't just be like, oh yeah, they're back together and it's all over with. I mean, it's
a happy ending to this movie. And
it's like, in my opinion, it's one of like the saddest things of 2018 is that like we traumatized a young generation of Mexican American children.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Or Latin American. I'm sure.
Yes, sorry. Yes. No, I mean, that was kind of a small scope of it.
In my head, I heard, I had a good friend who was from Honduras, and he would get very adamant about, because I think there's this tendency to say that like anyone who comes up, especially from Central America, is Mexican. And
That's
they're like,
fair.
We exist too.
Right.
Not to...
No, I appreciate
that. Not to culture shame you.
No, please help me out. I'm learning. I'm learning.
So... let's see.
There's still a government shutdown going on, like you and I said, and we have a news story called The Donald and Nancy Show, which is basically what it's turned into.
Oh my gosh, I couldn't even believe this.
They're going
the
tit for tat. Yeah, this is the world we live in. So on Wednesday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi sent President Trump a letter asking him to delay his State of the Union address until the government shutdown is resolved, citing security concerns. And then yesterday, Trump used the same reasoning to inform Pelosi that he would postpone her planned 7-day overseas trip to Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan. The White House publicly released a terse letter informing Pelosi that her planned travel had been, quote, postponed a short while after Trump ordered the Pentagon to cancel her Air Force flight to the country. A bus carrying several House Democrats who were to accompany Pelosi were prepared to leave for the airport at the time.
I think when you open the dictionary to the word petty, you see something mentioning this story.
That's been clear from the beginning of his presidency. He does not have any level that he will not stoop to.
That is you know? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What a mess. What a mess. And I'm sorry, but do we see the government reopening anytime soon? I'm worried.
I hope so.
I hope so too, but I'm worried that, we'll see in some of our news stories that it's really starting to creep into society.
Absolutely. Yeah, and it's I don't understand how the people that are okay with the government shutdown are the same people who, when my mother, who is a teacher in Phoenix, Arizona, was striking because they hadn't gotten a raise in 10 years, were saying things like, whoa, that's what we're teaching our children, that's how you get the things that you want.
Exactly.
And it is infuriating. And it is also infuriating, even just on a personal note. I have a lot of friends that work for like the National Park Service. And that's their job. One friend has been doing this job for 10 years. And to me, that is an extremely important job. But if you were to ask, anybody who's deciding to shut the government down, they don't see that as a necessary job. They don't see that as, imperative. So my friend has just been out of work for a month, and they don't know how they're going to pay their mortgage.
It's dire.
Yeah.
It's dire for people.
It's just, I don't like the fact that we have a tendency to talk about these things as like, it's drama and it's the big story, but like these are real people.
Yeah, Lillian Kerbeck actually was the one that really kind of got me to, not got me to realize that these are real people, but was showing me how it's going to start step by step affecting just the average person, just
absolutely.
But it's still, Congress isn't really affected. And I love what Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez said, thank you, about, they should be having a pay cut as well.
I know, that is mind-boggling to me. I didn't realize that until about a week ago. I was like, okay, hold on a second. So Congress is still getting paid. But people doing the real, work of the country, I just
it's infuriating. It's infuriating. So we are going to take a quick break before we talk to our friend Mike over at Talk Media News. We are happy that you are joining us here at XRAY FM, XRAY in the morning, and we will be back with Talk Media News.